is Sita pure or not? And then he asked Sita to do the AgniPariksha. So, like he knew, because he was an incarnation, so why did he make her do it when he knew the truth? Then, like, where was the love for truth there?
No, because as a king, as somebody who is a model, he has to have a broader vision. If we are to connect truth and love together, we have to begin with why is there incarnation in the first place? We have the answer in the Bhagavad Gita. It says, from age to age, whenever there is a decline. But that's on the negative side. On the positive side is to uplift humanity and set them on the right path towards freedom. That's the most charitable thing, loving thing one can do. And so in Christianity, they emphasizes it much more, that I came to save humanity and I gave up my life for you. So that is the principle. The principle is that I'll take everything on me and set things right, my responsibility. And gives you a focal point, an ideal on which we can meditate, on which we can relate to this transcendent entity. Because otherwise we don't have any idea what is this ideal of perfection that we call God. Any idea will be flawed, but when you see the word avatar means descending, coming down. So some being comes down, shares our humanity. In other words, shares our sufferings. Doesn't have to. Shares our sufferings willingly. Does it for the wider good. Because every animal, or many animals anyway, certainly the higher kinds of animals, will also have love. But their love is genetic love. A dog will protect its own puppies and protect its property and protect you as part of its property, but bite and fight and scratch and snarl at all the other dogs. And we use that, humans use that, protect my property, by using your inherent feral instincts. A pack leader. So it's easy to have genetic love. Every being has genetic love. Even a crocodile that will pull your leg so severely and think nothing of biting your leg off will protect its young, protect its eggs, and protect its young. Some may say some of them it eats. Well, that could be also. But generally speaking, a mother is a mother, regardless. And the mother's love is there. Now, our love, when we talk about love, first of all, love is a curious term. What do we mean by love? What we mean by love is some intangible attachment that gives us joy, gives us an upliftment. So we benefit from love. Chemically, emotionally, we're benefiting from love because every being wants to be loved. And to love in return is sometimes difficult because for most people it's a bargaining process. For most people it's a limited conditional love. Just like any other animal would be limited and conditional, that I'll protect my own. Swans, they mate for life. So the husband swan, if you want to put it like that, and there's an ideal marriage, you see. We were discussing Sleeping Beauty and how everybody lives happily after. We don't know if they live happily ever after. But swans seem to. And they support each other and they protect the eggs, and anybody who goes near, they'll defend. That kind of arrangement is there. But for swans to love other swans who are nearby, or for swans to love humans that are coming into their territory. So there's an inbuilt defense mechanism it fences off our own nearest and dearest. There's nothing that special in it. It's biological. Now, what is the difference? An incarnation, a saint, those of steady wisdom, those saints, those people who are generous enough to expand their love to the whole of humanity. That's going beyond biological love. That is transcending the genetic love, the genetic feeling. So, and that love requires sacrifice. And in a competition between the value of truth and love, we put love higher. Why do we put love higher? Because if we are to cultivate truth, even so we have to have a love for truth. In order to become a spiritual practitioner according to the Vedanta system, there are some qualifications of guru, some qualifications for shishya, and there are 4 qualifications. You have to have that discernment that understands that this world is temporal, ephemeral, there is something permanent there behind it and working through it, and that's the only thing. When you take everything away, that's the only thing that still stands. That is called viveka. Revaluing everything and seeing the flow of divinity going through all hands, through all the avenues, and the avenues really are like instruments. Instruments have a purpose. If you ask what's the purpose of life, purpose is used in 2 ways. If you have cutlery, cups and saucers, etc., there's a purpose, but it doesn't make them sentient. So these are objective, purposeful things, no doubt. You can use them. They have a utility. Body is also like that. The mind is also like that, according to the Vedanta. And so what is behind it? Behind it is something that is thrusting through or operating through the instrumentation. For example, knives and forks are there. They have a purpose. But the purpose is to serve some entity that has designed them, is going to use them, going to wash them after the meal. And that then means that there is an intentional purposefulness behind every person. And that is driven from within. It is thrusting from within outward. And we can put it in loving terms. So if you talk about the Ramayana, then let us now be a little bit more spiritually inclined, philosophically and spiritually inclined. Philosophically, Rama represents the Atman. Sita represents the Jiva. The Jiva gets estranged from the Atman, and the two meet and become the one thing. So when I join myself, that's called yoga. When I join the estranged self, struggling in the world, suffering in the world, kidnapped as it were by the world, taken away, imprisoned as it were, and then I come and rescue it, and the two become the one. Now, if you have the two becoming one, it leads to a kind of definition of what is love, because the best definition of love that we have, I haven't found a better definition, is actually from a letter, St. Paul, Corinthians. And at wedding ceremonies in Christianity, more than likely this is read out. And I was inspired by this topic. This topic inspired me because I witnessed that kind of thing on Saturday. And it struck me that this is the best. I always knew it was, but you forget things. Be ambitious for the higher gifts, and I'm going to show you a way that is better than any of them, he says. So now he's talking about several things. We can be ambitious for higher gifts. What are those higher gifts? I suppose they're higher values. That is more so than eating and drinking and the utilities that we have. If I have all the eloquence of men or of angels, but speak without love, I'm simply a gong booming or a cymbal clashing. If I have the gift of prophecy, understanding all the mysteries there are, and knowing everything, and if I have faith in all its fullness to move mountains, but without love, then I am nothing at all. In other words, in a competition between head and heart, heart has to rule. There has to be feelings. And very often when we teach this philosophy, we go against Ramakrishna's own warning. Don't make me a dry philosopher. Don't make me a dry jnani. Mm-hmm. See? And we can see with his modeling what heart he had. Now we can see so graphically at this time of year too, for Christians, for example, how graphically the love is there. And we have a picture here of a heart, sacred heart. And even in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, one theme that we can meditate on is the heart of a saint or something, because that's a characteristic of it. And that is the basis for social action, for responsive action, not out of duty, not out of logic, not out of expectation, but out of expression. So that is why, you see, Mother's Day is coming up. So people want to give flowers, for example. Very good for the flower market. And but why would you do that, you see? Because the flowers will be put in a vase. At some point or other, they'll wither, they'll die, they'll go into compost. So what was the point of it? It's the token. And because flowers are beautiful, I want to give you something that will delight your sense of smell, your sense of sight, because flowers are uplifting because we have an internal sense of aesthetics. That's why we have art museums and so on, because we have the cultural appeal for the aesthetic things. Why? Because the height of the aesthetics, where does this aesthetic come from? Our nature is intrinsically love, beauty, bliss. And that is why when we love in any way, even if it's a pet, when we love something, even if it's an object, which is another kind of love, but we use the same expression, there's an internal joy about it. That's why we do it. But that's a kind of selfish thing if we're doing it for that reason. So we get the maximum love when it becomes an opening thing. Kind of like a flower that agrees to open, and the opposite would be a shrinking. That is called egoism. The opposite of egoism is an opening up, making the ego an open channel for divine grace to flow. And what is the evidence of God is love? Because that being is lovable. Even though we may make a caricature of that sometimes, or put it at a remote distance, we look at it carefully behind all the beauty, all the goodness, behind all the movement, behind all the energy that makes us gasp in wonder. Behind all of that, intrinsically, is the expression of love. There's no other reason for it. So, the world as we know it is a manifestation of divine love that sustains us, that invests in a purpose, that delivers a sense of beauty around us, that gives us an opportunity for deep appreciation, a sense of joy and thankfulness. Even people, you see, who do a service to somebody else, even with selfish motive, I feel very good about that. Because even there's an element of this giving. You can't avoid it. But kind of, we know, doing some good deed, we are the beneficiaries of it mainly. Unless we have an opportunity, we don't care for thanks. We don't care. It can be completely anonymous. I'm not doing it for me to feel good. I'm doing it to express something deep inside. And that is that expression that comes out even as human love. So he goes on extolling this quality, he says. And look at what he's saying. If I have the gift of prophecy, in other words, if people admire me because I can look into the future. And don't forget, in the Jewish world, prophets were the big role models. Elijah, etc. They're all the big role models. Supposing I have this gift given to me, and if it's a gift, I should surely say thank you. And understanding all the mysteries they are, intellectually, see. And knowing everything. I'm an all-knower, see. I'm right. Yeah. There are some people like that. I'm right even when I'm wrong. And if I have faith in all its fullness, faith, trust. If I have faith to move mountains, there's a story like that. I think it's in Mark, see, about faith. And Jesus is asked, how is it that you can do these wonderful things? There's an episode, a fig tree is there, it's not bearing fruit. Jesus then gives it a kind of a curse, a kind of unusual supernatural thing happening, like a miracle. And the apostles were astonished. You can do greater things than this. If you say to this mountain, get up, it'll do it. And then he gives the key. Your faith, it is believe that it is already accomplished. It's a wonderful formula. Whatever you want, you believe that it's already accomplished. Already accomplished, thanks. Even if you have that to move mountains, but without love, then I am nothing at all. I'm just a dry thing. If I give away all that I possess, piece by piece, if I become the model of renunciation, in other words, and if I even let them take away my body to burn it, but I'm without love, you will do me no good whatever. Then this is the famous passage. What is love then? Love is always patient and kind. Whenever you have a moment of impatience, love is not there. Whenever you have an unkind thought, love is not there. It is never jealous. Yeah. I love my next door neighbor. Yeah. But I wish I had the house they had. Wish them well. Good luck. As they say in Ireland, fair play to you. It's never jealous. Love is never boastful or conceited. It is never rude or selfish. In other words, it's devoid of all egoism. And you say, I'm a good person. Generally, I'm a loving person. Don't you agree? What's my characteristic? Name 3 positive things about me. Yes, I'm a loving person, caring person. People put it like that. All right. Are you ever rude, even internally in your thought? Are you ever selfish? As long as these 2 things are there, there's no love. It does not take offense. See, Vivekananda's triangulation of love. No fear, no rival, no reward. And it's not resentful. We chew the cud of resentful for years and years and years. I can forgive, but I cannot forget. What happened? Well, in 1993, they did this and they did that. Okay. What's the year now? 2025. Okay. Is it not time to stop that record and record something else? Play some new music. Preferably Beethoven. It does not take offense and not resentful. Love takes no pleasure in other people's sins, weaknesses, you can say, difficulties, but delights in the truth. See, that person, I don't like the way they behave. Yeah. Oh, they tripped and fell. Ah, what a pity. In the meantime, I'm saying, fantastic. They deserve it. Love takes no pleasure in other people's sins, but delights in the truth. It is always ready to excuse, to trust, to hope, and to endure whatever comes. Love does not come to an end. This is a wonderful, wonderful passage that is repeated time and time again. But if you are in any doubt, we can take our own Holy Mother Sharada Devi. What she says is like this. One's love of God depends entirely upon one's own inner feeling or one's own inner feelings. Love of God is the essential thing. But then the next question is, how do we do it? So, along with all of that, statements should be very keen enough to tell us japa, repetition, loving repetition of the divine name. The divine name, no, that can be mechanical, you see. If it's mechanical, there's no love, there's no feeling. If you're just doing it to tick the box, you say, I should do 108 times. Oh, thank goodness that's over. Next one, next thing I have to do. What do I have to do? If there's no feeling within it, then this whole purpose of repetition of mantra is of no value. If I repeat a mantra and don't know its meaning, then of what value is it? May as well repeat rhubarb cabbage. Or if I don't have the feeling, now that's the difference. Supposing you want to meditate, because this is one of Patanjali's themes, if you want, in his chapter on siddhis, if you want strength, what will you can do? Well, you can meditate on an elephant. What does that mean? Well, you can not think of something you haven't experienced. Supposing you think, well, I cannot think of a unicorn. I've never seen a unicorn. No, you've seen a horn and you've seen a horse. The two combined, that's what you have. You can never imagine something that you haven't seen or touched or experienced in some way. So maybe you haven't come across an elephant. I've come across many elephants. We've said hello and so on. And an elephant, if you're not careful, will wave its ears and threaten to charge you. But otherwise, it's a vegetarian. Quite peaceable. Much bigger, the African elephant is much bigger than the Asian elephant. Big, massive thing like that can cause much, much destruction. Now, supposing I've encountered it, supposing I have only seen a picture of it, or supposing I have seen a movie of it, then I'm thinking, okay, there's the elephant. What is it doing? It's lifting up logs with its trunk. All right. Now, I could just say elephant, elephant, because along with the picture comes the word elephant. I can simply say elephant, 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 and my mind is distracted and I'm still repeating it, and I won't get the quality that I'm thinking of. Now, supposing I think of the elephant and insert some feeling about it. You can even say, I am the elephant. There's a wonderful exercise in one of the positive thinking books. So sit down every day and imagine that all your favorite characters in history are coming through a door, one by one, sitting down, and you have an interview with them. Let's say you admire the leadership of the controversial figure Napoleon. You sit down. So what was it like to be outnumbered and so on and so forth? And you get a glimpse of leadership qualities. That comes to you. Whatever you think of, whatever you meditate on, comes to you. All the qualities come to you. So when you think of God, all the godly, divine qualities come to you. So you do it with love, repeating God's name with love, repeating His glories. Now, the Bhagavad Gita has specific chapters. Vibhuti Yoga. This is the yoga of the glories of the divine manifestations. You think Vibhuti is putting ash on? That's one sense of the word. The other sense of is the word is divine manifestations, divine glories. Where do we develop the loving aspect, the return of love, is by seeing the gifts of grace all around us flowing. Not charging us anything, not demanding, not sending us a bill at the end of the month, not asking for any repayment or any reward, not asking for a gift at Christmas time. None of that. All freely given without our awareness, generally speaking. When we are aware of it, we start tuning our mind and our hearts really into this divine. Because the flow of grace is the flow of giving. I have a book here, of course. It's called Julian Laura, Revelations of Divine Love. And interesting enough, one of her visions she has 16 of them. Her revelations, 16 of them. And there she uses the language, and I thought I was using this language for the first time. No, she's also using it. Interesting. Light, life, and love. And she's giving one revelation there, you see. It was revealed to me, and I think it's from, she's centered around on the suffering Christ. And the revelation is, I'm not suffering. This wound, if you look at it carefully, it is light. And it is all love. Why does the sun shine? Out of love. What is behind it is love. That's her revelation. Then this light, what does light mean? Light is a perpetual light. It's a perpetual day, was her revelation. And the perpetual day means the night will never come. The darkness will never come. Lead us from darkness to light. The darkness will never be there. As long as we understand it is all light, the light of glory and consciousness. And she says this light is love, actually. So the life, the light, and the love, well, it's all, according to her revelation, it's all coming from love. And who is she loving? That being that is prepared not only to sacrifice, but give joy and bliss and upliftment. It's a positive thing. So, Holy Mother says also, love of God is the essential thing. She says, did the cowherd boys of Vrindavan get Sri Krishna as their own through japa and meditation? No, they realized him through ecstatic love. Ecstatic love. Now, if you want to see what Sri Krishna says about it, this 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is very interesting. There's a section, only 2 stanzas there. We can call it, it is to do with understanding. Then you may say, what has understanding got to do with love? Because the principal thing that we are suffering from is ignorance. And therefore the antidote is knowledge. But knowledge comes in twofold things. So knowledge and truth can be equated also. When you have knowledge, it's a reveal a truth about something, and it gives you a power over that something. But you see, the Upanishads will put it in two. The Mundaka Upanishad will tell us about aparavidya and paravidya, the lower love and the higher love. And the lower love is all the information. All the information technology that we have today is all categorized as a lower kind of thing, a lower knowledge. It's just information transfer, that's all. And if we're hooked on that, then that becomes a kind of restriction for us. For example, we are told that way back, maybe in some primitive Christian formation times, it was important to have very, very scholarly discussions. How many angels will fit on the head of a pin? And Ramakrishna is giving another beautiful example of that, you see, of academics going to examine the botanical qualities and biological qualities of a tree. So they go and examine the mango tree, and they start examining the bark and the leaves, and making a big discussion. How many leaves there were? Did you count properly? No, count again. And then they're looking for their companion, and he was nowhere to be found. Then they look, he's in the tree, he's eating the mangoes. And the whole moral of the story, eat mangoes, don't count leaves. When we eat the mangoes, when we experience this blissful aspect of spirituality, it gives us this understanding also. Now that person who's eating the mangoes knows what is a mango, because you cannot eat the leaves. What's the point? So these two stanzas will go like this: Tisham satatta yuktanam bhajatam pratipurvakam dadami putti yogam tam yenamam upayante te. To these who, their minds, those people have their minds fixed on me, with their life absorbed in me, enlightening each other. How can you avoid it? And ever speaking of me, they remain what? Contented and happy. To those people who are ever devout, steady in their emotional offerings, in their emotional manifestations, and worship me with love. Worship me with love. Not worship me with candles and lights and rituals and so on and so forth. We can do that with love, or we can do that with devoid of it. But worship me with love. I give that yoga, that means that union, that sense of union, of understanding, knowledge, understanding, by which they come unto me. So the man in the Ramakrishna story, the man who loved mangoes, understood mangoes also. Tisham eva nukam partam aham ajnana anyadacham tamaha nashyami atma bhavastu jnanadipena bhasvata. Purely out of compassion for them. What is the outpouring? What is the effect of love? Compassion. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy the darkness born of ignorance by the luminous lamp of knowledge. We're suffering from ignorance. Antidote is knowledge. So by me offering my love, and in return moving, as it were, the heart of the divine, the two matching in a yoga, in a union, immediately my ignorance is gone. And so we can mobilize our emotions in this way. So love is the very highest and purest of these virtues. And we have to take these words seriously that are spoken by St. Paul. Let's continue what the Holy Mother is saying. She says, our essential point is love. It is through love alone that the spiritual family of Sri Ramakrishna has grown and developed. When you have an institution with people, an organization, if you don't have this essential ingredient, the whole thing will be like a business. It'll be like a corporation. It'll be as bland as that. It'll have no joy within it. You'll only have fighting, only blaming, only disagreements. You can see what Holy Mother says. Now I put it in a poem form, but she starts off, if you want peace of mind, don't find fault with others, find fault with yourself. Look at yourself first. And the way we put it in a kind of poem, at a devotee's request, we say, offerings from your child accept in exchange for blessings kept. How does it go from there? May purity our sins supplant, all loving nature to us grant. If you have that loving nature, then the rest comes. Let's not accuse, demand, or complain. Pointing the finger, accusation finger, demanding, I deserve this. Blame, you did this, you did that. But love, respect, and help, not blame. No fault to find except our own. Then look at this generosity. Make every stranger feel at home. Let the whole world be your own. The whole world, not just here or there. The whole world, everything, everybody, everything. So this is a wonderful, wonderful use of your emotions, much better than all these other negative things. So she says, one must have devotion towards one's own guru. Whatever may be the nature of the guru, the disciple gets salvation by dint of his unflinching devotion. What is the difference between devotion and love? Devotion is generated from love. If a person loves somebody, they'll be devoted to them. If you love God, you'll be devoted. That means your mind will be offered to them. The heart will be offered to them. The limbs will be offered to them. Everything would be something like an offering. You register everything to their account. You'll replace this idea, my body, with your body. My mind with your mind, your sitting room, your throne room, not mine. Then she says, but she emphasizes that, and the way to that also, in terms of always keeping that in mind. And throughout the Bhagavad Gita, this idea, fix your mind on me, always like that. Be devoted to me, fix your mind on me. Now this 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita also gives us great, great scope for mobilizing the heart, because it tells us about the glory. It is the knowledge of the vibhuti, the glories of the divine manifestations. And the chapter is there in order for us to stand back in a sense of awe and wonder, thankfulness, and the generation of the free flow of grace that flows toward us. And that is pure love. And from that will come everything else. And so, he's telling of the divine glories. Specifically, he's doing it. He starts off by saying, Aham Atma Gurukesha. I am the self, don't worry about Gurukesha, seated in the hearts of all beings. I am the beginning, the middle, and also the end of all beings. Lack of understanding of this, of course, gives us a difficulty. I am all the various beings. I am the Adityas. I am Vishnu. It goes on like that. We've compiled all this from 7th chapter, 10th chapter, and so on, 11th chapter. We've combined all of this into one single set of verses called Divine Glories. It is worth repeating these divine glories over and over again. What else is he? Yes, I'm the all-devouring death, no doubt. I'm the prosperity of those who are to be prosperous. And I'm fame, I'm fortune. These are considered to be feminine qualities. I'm speech and memory. You say, I can't remember everything. I've lost my memory. Well, you have a librarian to resort to. Come on, bring this one out. Put it back in. Intelligence, constancy, and forbearance. In other words, everything that we experience can be registered to the divine account. And then when you see what is the behind it, why is this world here? What is the purpose of this world? Viewed from this point of view, it can be understood as the expression of the divine heart. As I mentioned before, we have a Jesus here with the divine heart. It's more or less in most homes in Ireland and everywhere else, many other places too. It's not that Jesus walked around with something there, with the heart exposed like that. It's symbolic. It tells us that not only is the heart, but it's a sacrificing heart. Is prepared to shed his own life's blood. Even Vivekananda said, if I had been there at the time of Christ, I would have shed my heart's blood for him. I sacrificed my all for him. See? So in this love comes sacrifice, self-sacrifice, for the good of all, for the good of everyone. Just at random almost, reading here from this Reflections of Divine Love. God rejoices that he is our father, mother, and spouse, and how the chosen have here a mixture of joy and sorrow. But God is with us in three ways, and how we may avoid sin, but never perfectly as in heaven. So she relates. And so I saw that God rejoices that he is our father, rejoices that he is our mother, rejoices that he is our true spouse, and our soul is his beloved wife. A beautiful way of expressing it. And then being a Christian and all that, she's saying, and Christ rejoices that he is our brother. And Jesus rejoices that he is our Savior. There are 5 great joys, as I understand, in which he wishes that we rejoice: praising him, thanking him, loving him, and endlessly blessing him. We would take that formula with us, and we would have a different view of life, but also there'd be an internal shift upwards. Now, she's mentioning many different aspects, mentioning them in terms of the role as being everything: father, mother, even husband, wife. These also are referring to bhavas, that is, attitudes with which we can view our most beloved. And this is part of the whole principle of the Ishtadevata, the chosen ideal, that we don't begin with which aspect should I worship. We begin with, where do I want to put myself? If I want to put myself as a child, then you're my mother, you're my father. If I want to put myself as a friend, you're my brother, you're my companion. If I want to put myself as a parent, you're my child. If I want to put myself as a servant, you're my master. If I want to put myself as an entity surrounded by a kind of intangible presence, like the sun shining everywhere, there's that aspect too. The formless is there too. If I want to think of this as my dearest beloved, then that's another attitude, another aspect to it. So all of these bhavas, all of these approaches, emotional approaches, these are all used in devotion. And why we emphasize this devotion is because in this day and age, it is the most natural way. It is the best way for us. It is the easiest way. The whole of chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita explores this way. In answer to a question, who is better, dividing devotees into 2 camps? Is it the one who is worshipping the imperishable, the absolute, that kind of thing, or one who is worshipping you with form? That boils down to that. Is it the bhakti yogi or the jnani yogi? This is the question. So those devotees who ever steadfast worship you in this way, and those who worship the imperishable, the unmanifest, please can you tell me which are the better ones? And Sri Bhagavan Vacha, you see the Lord said, well, those who worship me, fixing their minds on me, ever steadfast and endowed with supreme faith, I regard them as the best spiritual aspirants. Now he doesn't draw a line under there. He says, but those who worship the imperishable, indefinable, how can you define it? Unmanifest, omnipresent, inconceivable, unchanging, immovable, and eternal. Why does he give so many epithets? Because they're difficult to grasp. Having subdued all the senses, there's a condition. Dedicating your life to subduing the senses, even-minded under all conditions, difficult, and devoted to the good of all beings, there it is. Very often, Hindus are accused. They are all after their own spiritual satisfaction, their own peace of mind, and so on and so forth. All about meditation so that they can get freedom. No, they're automatically devoted to the good of all beings, the welfare of all beings. Truly, they also come unto me. So now it's, one all. Even. Is it like that? Draw a line under that? Answer your question. But, you see, klesho dikatarastesham, greater, their difficulty is greater whose minds are set on the unmanifest. The goal of the unmanifest is very hard for the embodied to reach. In other words, as long as you think that your identity is anything to do with the body, it's very difficult. Is there an easy way? Yes. For those who consecrate all their actions to me, regarding me as the supreme goal, and who worship me, meditating on me with single-minded devotion, nothing else. In other words, with pure love, with 100% love. To them whose minds are thus absorbed in me, I soon become the deliverer from the ocean of this problematic world, this transmigratory existence, beset with death. Bhavani nachirat partha mai aveshita chetasam. So, maya eva mana adastha mai buddhim nivesha. Fix your mind on me alone. Let your thoughts dwell on me. Hereafter you live in me alone. Of this there's no doubt. Don't worry about the afterlife. In me, you'll still be with me. And then that is the absolute. There's a human element to that. Perhaps we can't do that. If we can't do that, then another thing is there. Seek me by the yoga of constant practice. Every time you see the mind go off, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Constant remembrance. And if you're incapable of doing that also, is there another way? Yes, offer all your actions for love. Every action that you do, an act of love, like offering a flower. Go on here. I may have mentioned St. Teresa of Lisieux. Every little irritation, she took as a flower, offered it to her beloved. There's another way of doing it. You can torture yourself and maybe say nothing, or maybe in an outburst. She relates her difficulty in her concentrating in the chapel. A fellow nun was there fidgeting. Now, she's too polite to say anything, but she could. But whether you say something or not, if you think it, it's as good. Irritating. Why? This person must settle down, fidgeting all the time. Now her meditation is on that person. And finding fault. See? Then she decides, I'm recognizing this, I'm seeing this in me, and I'm taking it as something like a thorn which could be transformed into a flower and offering it to you. Now she's looking, where's your next fidgeting? Come on, give me another flower, let me offer it. So, if you're unable to do even this, then just take refuge in me. Be self-controlled, renounce the fruits of all actions. In other words, at the end of a day or the end of an activity, whatever was the result of whatever you did, understand it doesn't belong to me. I'm not using my own personal energy. It's all being gifted to me. I want to give it back. These are yours. So, love, I would say, is the highest virtue that we have. And just to review just a little bit again what St. Paul is saying in his first letter to the Corinthians, just to remind you how beautiful a passage it is and definition of love it is. Be ambitious, he says, for the higher gifts. And I'm going to show you a way that is better than any of them. Love is a way. Then he says, if I have all the eloquence of men, of angels, but speak without love, I'm simply a gong booming or a cymbal clashing, making a lot of noise. If I have the gift of prophecy, understanding all the mysteries there are, knowing everything, and if I have faith in all its fullness to move mountains, but without love, then I am nothing at all. If I give away all that I possess, piece by piece, and if I even let them take my body to burn it, but am without love, even if I'm a martyr, but I don't have love, it will do me no good whatever. Love is always patient and kind. It is never jealous. Love is never boastful or conceited. It is never rude or selfish. It does not take offense. It is not resentful. Love takes no pleasure in other people's sins or weaknesses, but delights in the truth. It is always ready to excuse, to trust, to hope, and to endure whatever comes. Love does not come to an end. It applies to people. It applies to organizations and institutions, because he's writing to a body of people. It applies in the world of politics. It applies in the world of international affairs. It is the panacea for war and destruction and suffering, and there's plenty of it going around at the moment. But it's always been like that. So the opposite of love is selfishness. And selfishness comes from this klesha, aham, this sense of I, which in turn comes from ignorance. So if we take Patanjali Yoga Sutras as a reference point where truth also is mentioned, non-stealing, truth, self-control is there, and not being independent enough not to be the recipient of gifts where we have to be obliged to another person. But head of the list will be ahimsa, non-injury. And there's no reason why that should be there unless the opposite side of it is there, which is love. Love for all. If I love all, I won't injure or harm them whatsoever. And then if you expand that idea from a logical point of view, to understand there's only one unity of existence, whatever I do to another, I'm really doing it to myself. It's like an uncontrollable left hand slapping my right cheek. Why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Not realizing that I'm doing myself harm. Like a cat chasing the tail, thinking it's something else, thinking it's a rope, and biting onto it, and then surprised, oh, it's hurting. All right. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace beyond all. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you.
Om